Welcome, welcome, welcome to Divine Earth School. Hello, 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 Mosaic Souls. Hello, Mosaic Souls. My name is Rachel Alexander, artist and Mosaic Soul Mentor, aka Spiritual Life and Wellness Coach on this channel. And today I'm going to be talking about the power of right action. So in today's live, I really wanted to bring this topic to light because a lot of times, even as a coach, I'm working with clients and stuff like that and telling them to take actions and stuff. But one of the things that you hear me say on this channel a lot is always flow with what feels good and let go of what doesn't. And one of the reasons why I say that is because I want you to listen to your intuition and learn to follow through on things that actually resonate with you in your journey right now. And a lot of times when you're listening to different spiritual teachers, spiritual leaders, other coaches and consultants and stuff like that on doing things in your life, we have a tendency to, always look outside of ourselves and not tune in to what is right for us, what resonates for us in this present moment. So that's really the reason why I wanted to bring this topic today to you. If you're joining me live, feel free to say hi in the chat and let me make sure that this is actually working. As I do that, let me just run this back real quick. Let me make sure that this is working. It's not actually. Okay. Okie dokie. I think we are live. Okay, cool. So basically that's why I wanted to talk about this. So let's talk about if I think about, there's a specific moment I remember. It was one Christmas that I was hanging out with my family, and I don't know if I want to share that. And let me see. I'm trying to think of a time in my life. There's plenty of times where I've taken actions out of. Okay, I'll just give this one example. So I was personally, I wanted to give an example of when we take action out of fear, how it can lead to undesired outcomes. And so the reason why this happens a lot is because most of the time when we're taking action out of fear, we're in a vibrational state of that which we do not want. So I remember I was going somewhere. I was trying to go somewhere, and my intuition was immediately saying, it was like a hard no, like I wasn't really listening to it, but because I was scared that something bad would happen if I didn't go and run this specific errand, that I ended up like hurting myself and like bruising my foot and almost spraining my toe and stuff like that. So anyways, it was just sort of like one of those moments where my intuition was very clearly speaking to me and moving me in a specific direction, but because I was in a fear-based state of mind, I ended up hurting myself from doing that, right? And so that's just sort of an example of what things that happen when we're taking action out of fear versus the love-based beings that we are, So really we want to start transitioning from fear-based action to, right action or intuitive-led action, right? Inspired action. And so let's talk about understanding fear-based action. So really, there's several reasons why I think we take actions driven by fear. And the main one is that we are conditioned from the time we're born on this planet and grow up in our society. We're born and we're taught that, you got to do X, Y, Z or something bad will happen. Do X, Y, Z or something bad will happen. Really, that's sort of the blueprint that we're all sort of raised on in this society, right? And so many times we're taught to, just from societal programming and even just familial programming, that X plus Y equals Z, right? Kind of this sort of formulaic way of manifesting. And even though that has value, we are in a time where quantum exists and we can literally shift from different parallel versions of ourselves through the power of congruency, through the power of certainty and aligning our hearts, our minds, our energy, our energetic bodies, all four of our bodies together, and following through with inspired action. And so a lot of times, because we're not taught this basic principle of life manifestation on the planet, we are taught in a very sort of old archaic way of manifesting and an old archaic way of going about achieving things. Now, action is super important, and I don't want to discount action, but the quality of your action and from the energetic stance from which you're taking your action makes such a huge difference, right? So if some of the common reasons that we're taking action is from societal programming, from the fear of something bad happening if we don't take specific actions. Those are usually the most two common reasons why we take a lot of fear-based actions. And then another third way is this, it's just become our modus operandi, where it's like we don't really even know how to exist on the planet without taking action based out of fear, right? It's, sort of that anxious loop that many of us, the rat race that, Robert Kiyosaki calls it, or, just this idea of not even just concerning money, but even just in relationships or around health and stuff. A lot of it is always, not always, but a lot of the times fear-based, because living in fear allows you to live in a state of being in a state of mind control, right? And so when you're coming from this place of being in a state of mind control, you're easily manipulated through, various different agendas that are going on the planet. But when you start taking action from a place of love, from your soul, from your intuition, your action and the quality of your action is actually a lot more potent. And you actually find that you don't, well, in my own experience, I find, and from my other friends who are like on the spiritual awakening journey, you find that you take less action, or when you do take action, it doesn't feel like fear, it doesn't feel like hard work, it doesn't feel like effort, and it doesn't feel like something you have to do in order to make something happen. It just kind of feels like an extension of joy or curiosity or enthusiasm, or just following your intuitive nudge and impulse. There's no like resistance in the action, right? So I want to talk about exploring the impact of fear-based actions on your results and your overall well-being. Living in a constant state of fear, fight, flight, or flee, also on an energetic level or on a body level, it kind of wreaks havoc on your nervous system, on your immune system, and all that stuff. Because when you're living in a state of fear, your cortisol levels are usually skyrocketing through the roof, or always on the high. And so that actually suppresses your immune system, right? And it suppresses your body's ability to heal. It suppresses your ability to have good quality sleep and all that stuff. So when you're constantly living in a state of fear, constantly living in a state of anxiety, constantly living in a state of, oh, something bad will happen if I do this, and you're constantly moving from that place, you're only going to attract the same, like attracts like, right? So whatever your energetic stance is, whatever your energetic point of attraction is, you're going to attract that same energy, right? As within, so without, or yeah. So the same is applied, right? So as above, so below, same situation here, law of correspondence. So when you think of that, it really affects all of your life, not just, outcomes that happen in your finances, relationships and stuff like that, but it also affects your level of well-being, right? So living in a state of fear really doesn't align you technically to what you desire. And a lot of times when you do take action out of fear, let's say you do achieve the thing you wanted to achieve, a lot of times you don't even get a chance to enjoy it, because you're not in a vibrational state of gratitude, right? You're not in a vibrational vicinity to even grok or grasp everything that you just put all your quote unquote hard work and force into. There's no enjoyment. There's no fulfillment of the journey, because there's this effort-based, fear-based way of pursuing, your passions or your desires or life in that way. And so that's really why I wanted to talk about understanding fear-based actions, why we take them, and the impact that they have on our lives, our results, and our overall well-being. So let's talk about shifting to inspired action, shifting to soul-based action. So I'm trying to think of when was the first time. I think this kind of started shifting in me in my late teens, when I started seeing the power of, I think I discovered Eckhart Tolle when I was like 17 or 18, and he started talking about the power of now. And that's sort of one of the times I started a spiritual awakening when I was like 18 or whatever. But I started to recognize the power of not having to take so much action. And I remember it was really like my freshman year in college, and I was going to college or whatever. And if you're joining me live, feel free to say hi in the chat. And I'm going to open this up for any questions and Q&A or insights that you have at the end. But I was going to college, and I remember just really getting into like spiritual thought, what is it called? New Age thought and stuff like that. And I started reading books like, from Eckhart Tolle and Deepak Chopra and, John Kabat-Zinn and all these other people like that. And so I remember just understanding that like because I became like super present and I started tapping into the now power, and just like at that moment I started manifesting so many things, like from different scholarships and just opportunities and all different things just started manifesting in my life just without much effort. I would just set a goal in my mind of like, yeah, I'm going to do this and all this stuff. And I was going to class and doing the things. And most of the time in between classes, I'd just be sitting outside, enjoying nature, just being present and just really increasing my presence power. And what I started to notice in my own life, right, was I didn't really have to take much action for things to start manifesting. What I noticed is that because I was already in my mind, I had moved into a state of certainty around my intentions and around my desires, that I would just live my life. And, I would do the daily actions of going to class and, attending my classes and doing the best in my classes and stuff like that. But outside of that, I wasn't working hard. Outside of just going to class and doing my classwork and stuff like that, I wasn't efforting to receive extra opportunities. And so opportunities started showing up in my life, I really think because the power of the action, the come from the action that I was taking, right? Any action that I was taking was coming from a place of inspiration, curiosity, from a higher level of being, higher state of consciousness, right? And so instead of just taking sort of action in order to make things happen, what started to happen was I was just taking action that felt good more often, right? So, joining clubs or doing things that felt good. And if it didn't feel good anymore, I would cease doing that. And I just started listening to my intuition a lot more. And when I noticed that's when things just started flowing more, like opportunities started showing up, right? People started showing up, people who didn't need to be in my life started leaving, right? And so it started to like alignment started to happen because I started tuning into the power of the present moment and tuning into intuition and starting to take action from intuition versus action from fear, right? And one of the anchors or one of the doorways or gateways for me that helped me open up that door was living in the present moment and starting to live more powerfully in this now moment, right? So there's really a qualitative difference from living or taking action from fear and taking action from inspiration, taking action from purposeful intention, right? And it's not even necessarily that, like, because when you think of purposeful intention, you think it's this like thing that you have to sit there and think about. A lot of times it's just intuitive action. Like it's actually bypassing the mental faculties a lot of times. So, one of the ways that you start to notice where you're coming from is how do you feel when you're taking action? What energy or energetic quality are you taking action from? So starting to look at that, like if you're moving and throughout your life, start to notice your state of being, start to notice what your vibrational point of attraction is. And what I mean by that is, what is your emotional state of being on a day-to-day basis throughout your day? Are you living in anxiety and fear? Are you living in a state of dissatisfaction? Are you living in a state of, name your pick, guilt, shame, or all the lower vibrational emotions? Or are you living in a state of peace, right? Where is your come from, right? Where is your come from? And starting to notice that. So some practical strategies for starting to align with your intuition and taking action from your intuition is when you start to notice what energetic frequency you're embodying and imbibing every moment, right? And then also starting to notice like who you identify as, right? One of the ways that you start to move more from your intuition and move more from intuitive action is that you no longer necessarily identify only as a human being. Like, yes, you're doing the whole human thing. We're all doing this human thing, right? But Your come from is actually from, oh, I'm a soul having this human experience, right? So I'm this infinite being playing for a temporary time on this planet called Earth. And I'm actually this infinite being playing this game called Life on Planet Earth. And so when you start identifying that as, and understanding the qualities of your soul, that divinity means you're a fractal of source, meaning you have creative powers to create the life you desire, then your come from and the way in which you move through your life is also very different. So I talked about this in another video when I talked about how to resource your sense of self-worth, and I'll link that video below. But it's all about like, where's your come from, right? Who do you identify as? Like, what do you identify as? Do you identify as just a human with like a spirit? You are a human who has a spirit? Or do you identify as, no, I'm actually an infinite being. This life is temporary. It's beautiful. I'm enjoying the journey. And I'm also a divine creator of my life through the power of my mind, through the power of my subconscious mind, through the power of my superconscious, my intuition. Or am I just stuck in just the human games and all the subconscious mind manipulation, mind control things that go on this planet? So it's like that also is a strategy, just starting to shift your come from. Where are you coming from? What is the identification that you have? Is your identification stuck just on a human level, or is your identification at a higher degree of awareness, right? So those are just really some practical tips and strategies on starting to shift your action, really. And it's I don't say it's iterative, but it does take time, right, to move into that and give yourself grace, because I'm still mastering this, moving from intuition rather than fear. But most of the time, I would definitely say 90% of the time, I take action from my intuition versus action from fear. And a lot of that shift for me happened with just starting to recognize who I am, right? Like, one of the things my higher self would always say to me every time I would wake up and do my journaling and meditation is, who are you? And that question would always pop up. Who are you? Remember who you are. Who are you? Are you a divine infinite being? Who are you? Who are you beyond just this human experience? And it's not necessarily to negate the human experience. It's not necessarily to negate the fact that you're here to play this game called human life on planet Earth, because that's beautiful. But it's to expand your sense of awareness, expand your awareness, and expand your sense of self, such that your sense of self isn't only limited to the human experience. Because when your sense of self is limited to the human experience, you are subject to fear-based thinking, to fear-based actions. You're subjected to, the limited purview of that world view that things only happen through hard work, things only happen through effort, the whole good and bad versus evil type thing, those sort of old archaic ways of being versus this wisdom, our ancient wisdom that's already naturally bred within our DNA of the fact that we're divine beings having this human experience, and we're playing this little game called Life on Planet Earth for a short stint, right? So being clear on your intentions, being clear with how you're moving throughout your life, and setting intentions that are based on the knowing that your well-being is already assured, right? And so one of the things I also wanted to talk about, just out of strategies of taking sort of right action, is navigating challenges, right? So challenges are part of the journey, right? Like, that's why giving yourself grace and giving yourself the spaciousness from which you can start to move through your life with grace. Like, give yourself a chance to fall and make mistakes. There's so many times, like I said in the beginning, I have countless times where I listened to my intuition. I took action based on my intuition, but in order for me to get there, I had to make a whole bunch of mistakes where I wasn't listening to my intuition. I was banging my head against the wall, and I was creating all this unwanted events in my life because I didn't know how to listen to my intuition. Most of us aren't taught how to listen to your intuition, so it's a new skill set, right? So moving from that, and I'll link the video that I did yesterday below as well, 18 ways on how to cultivate your intuition. But moving from inspired action is it takes time, right? So there's challenges that arise, right? Challenges just because that's the way we come to expand on this journey. Like, challenges and contrasts help us to wake up to more and more of who we are. And so that's a part of the journey, and learning to how you navigate setbacks and learn from them is to, one, understand that, one, they're a part of the journey, and two, allow yourself to feel whatever is coming up, and then three, allow yourself to grok any insights. Go back to that sort of cycle of purpose that I shared, with the surrender. And surrendering means tuning in, right? Tuning in, accepting the situation as it is, and then seeing what insights can I grok from this, right? What do I need to learn from this, and moving into that healing so that you can release and transmute that energy of whatever is being created in your life that you might consider to be a setback or unwanted event, right? I don't know why my light is acting up today. I don't know why it's doing that. And then start moving, continue to just allow life to happen. Any setback, quote unquote, or unwanted life event that happens is there for your benefit, is there for you. It's happening for you to help you expand. And even though in the moment it might not feel like it's there happening for you, hindsight 2020, all contrasting events that move you into a higher state of frequency is there to serve you, right? And you only really see that in hindsight 2020. You never really see it in the moment. Sometimes you can. It depends on how you start to raise your level of consciousness and raise your level of awareness. But, setbacks are a part of the journey. Challenges are part of the journey. And really, it's not really setbacks as much as it's just contrast, just different life events happening. We get to label it as a setback or a challenge, or you can just label it as another life event happening that's might be unwanted on a human level, right? So that is basically how you start to, move into intuitive based action, and the power of taking intuitive based action, the power of right action, right? Versus fear-based action. When you're taking action out of joy and fear, you're no longer in a state of fight, flight, or flee. And so your cortisol levels aren't skyrocketing through the roof. Your parasympathetic nervous system is usually at a state of, tranquility, peace, and ease. And so that allows you to foster a better, higher quality immune system, better health, overall health and well-being, and a sense of just peace and serenity throughout your life, that you're no longer like wrestling and tussling with life events or challenges as you're moving throughout your life and, achieving or not achieving, achieving certain goals and intentions, and letting certain desires sort of birth themselves through you, right? And so in a sense, you sort of become a conduit through which your higher self sort of gets to play through, like your soul. I always thought of this, when these divine insights started to come to me, I was sort of thought of like my soul as the driver and my body as the car, right? Like my body is the car that my soul is driving, right? And so when I started switching that sort of purview or that worldview, it made life a lot easier, because I no longer had to rely on just the limits of my human mind and the fear-based, societal programming to make up where I was coming from or to decide what I should do next. I could actually let my soul guide me through that intuitive nudges and intuitive insights that I would receive, right? So that's really power behind taking right action, what I call right action, what I inspired action, same word for different words for the same thing that I'm talking about here. I don't know what is wrong with my light. Why is it acting crazy today? It doesn't normally do that. Anyways, but that is it. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below around the topic that I shared. If you have any insights or thoughts or experiences, let me know. And let me know one instance, share if you feel like being brave, an instance where you felt like you listened to your intuition and how it led to a desired outcome. And not just listen to your intuition, but you took action based out of love, right? Give me an example in your own life where you took action based out of love and how that affected your life, and what resulted as, what was the result of taking action out of love. Let me know in the comments below. And I'll wait to see if there's any. Oh, okay. So that is it. That's all I wanted to share. So, as always, flow with what feels good and let go of what doesn't, because you are divine. You are a divine being. Your soul knows exactly what you've come to explore and experience while on this journey. So, if you are looking for more support in creating your divine life and well-being, then definitely visit me at www.divineearthschool.com/call to book a complimentary discovery call with me. And on this call, we'll work together to uncover what are your personal blocks that you're having in your life that's not allowing you to experience more peace and ease and confidence in creating the life that you desire. I'll just leave it off here. It's just acting crazy. and I put the link in the description box below. And also next steps that you can take to move towards creating more of the desired lifestyle you want. And if it resonates to work together, we'll talk about that. And if it doesn't, that's also cool too. Remember, it's a complimentary call. I'm not going to be selling you on the call. So if that resonates, definitely feel free to visit us at divineearthschool.com/call to book your complimentary discovery call. And remember, what you conceive is what you'll receive. What you expect is what you'll get. And however you feel is what will become real for you. So vibrate higher, and I will chat with you guys tomorrow. Well, I think tomorrow I might be coming on a little bit earlier. And then Thursday, I think, is Thanksgiving, if I'm not mistaken. So I might not, Thursday I might be taking off. So I will let you, those of you who are on my email list, know. Yeah, so Thursday I won't be coming live, but tomorrow I'll probably be coming on here a little bit earlier as I have an event later on in the evening that I want to attend. So you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I will chat with you guys tomorrow. Peace, love, and light.